This is the Balanced Growth Show with Dr. Travis Perry, helping successful business professionals like you achieve balance in their lives.
Welcome to another episode of the Balanced Growth Show. My name is Dr. Travis Perry. I'm your host, and today we have Roy Snarr. Roy is an asset protection and long-term care specialist based out of Austin, Texas. He's the author of several books, including Medicare Doesn't Care and Social Security 101, which is part of the Snarr Academy. He helps consumers and financial professionals understand the mechanics and importance of having a balanced approach through their retirement years. Welcome to the show, Roy.
Hey, thank you so much. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's been fun to get to know you in the pre-show. You've got a lot going on, and I love the energy and the emphasis that you have on these areas that, quite honestly, part of the financial planning process are a lot of times overlooked and not really planned for. And you're really one of these specialists. So I'm excited to talk to you about that. But how did you get here? How did you stumble into Medicare, long-term care, Social Security? Why this stuff? Tell us just a quick story.
Sure. I mean, isn't it every young boy's dream to grow up and sell insurance? I mean, so, I had zero background in this industry. My family, zero background. We grew up doing construction, logging in the Midwest. I mean, basically, we're a bunch of hillbillies. And then what happened was my mother became disabled. Somebody ran a stop sign, hit her, and just accelerated a condition she already had called degenerative disc disease. A divorce came out of that. We lost the house. She lost the car. She lost her job. All of this happened when I was 14. And this uniquely was during the 2001 dot-com burst. So I didn't know anything about money or life or finances. I was worried about Pokemon cards and riding my bicycle. So my whole life changed. And I moved with my mom to her parents' house, like 4 hours away, whole new school, everything. So that really stuck with me. And I always thought, how could one life event like that completely change the outcome of a family? What could have been done differently? Now, we're very fortunate that we did go through that. However, we wanted to be able to have a mission to say, how can we help other people avoid that? And so that was the start and the passion that led me down this path. And I just had a natural calling to it one time and started working with the company, and it just accelerated from there.
Wow. Yeah, that is a definite motivator to make a difference. And I can tell just from what you've been involved in that, it's a really, compelling story that people probably need to understand. That's your motivation, right, man? That's exactly what keeps you going. That's fantastic that you're able to take this and really help others. And deal with the tragedy you've dealt with there. What would you say is your definition of balance? How would you describe balance in your own life, man? I know you're a father. You have young girls. Right. You have a boy on the way in February, and congrats on that. You've got a young family, but you have a business where you manage 15 employees. You have a team of 15. You're growing this business. So talk to us a little about what balance looks like for you.
Yeah, so that's a great question. I sometimes have to ask my own self, what is balance? Because it's so easy to get consumed by the practice. Because when you're really passionate about something like we are, it doesn't really feel like work, right? I don't feel like, I got to go clock in and out. No, I'm like, I wake up sometimes 2-3 in the morning, like, that's a great idea for a case design. And I'll get up and start working. I love what I do. And so does our team. But it also comes at a cost sometimes, because the one asset that we have that's more valuable than money is time. And it didn't really strike me until we had children. When we had kids, then it's like, oh, wow, I don't want to miss this. I don't want to be that dad that worked so hard, built a great career, but then didn't go to the soccer game, right? I didn't want to be that way. So my definition of trying to find balance is, okay, it's not about me personally. Like, I could care less if I need meditation time or whatever time. My thing is, like, I want to be sure that I give enough time for the family, but also enough time and attention to work so that I can provide for that family. And their kids can look at me like, my dad is awesome. He's a winner, right? And so to balance that, I just make a rule where I do not work weekends unless it's something crazy. And then I come home every night by 6 o'clock. That way I can be there for the kids and the dinner. In the morning, I take my daughters to school. That's important to me. So I get up really early, do my work, then I take them to school, and I schedule everything around it. And that was hard because it's easy for the business to own you and you not to own the business. And it's a constant battle, but that's how I tried my best to try to find that balance and that focus. And to me, right, balance is discretionary. It's what's your opinion of balance may be different than mine, but to me, that's my definition of balance.
So good. I appreciate you sharing that with us. I mean,
yeah
as a father of young kids myself, you hit the nail on the head. The business can own you. You can own the business. It's your choice.
Exactly.
And so many people fall prey to the reactive mindset. And that's going to be the destructive end of their balance, because they're going to constantly be behind the eight ball, and they're always going to feel like they don't have any control in their life. So I get it. And I think there's a lot out there who are probably struggling even just with that mindset. So I love that you talk about that. Yeah. How have you been able to scale your business while keeping that balance? What are some things that you've done that have really moved the needle as a business? I know you've written some books, you've done a lot of interviews. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's funny because sometimes it feels like you're not going anywhere. And then you look back, you're like, wow, you're right. That was a year ago. And look where we were at then compared to now. It's amazing. So I think one of the hardest parts is appreciating the challenges, because the challenges make us stronger and give us more character in the practice. And then we can help others vicariously with that, right? We can actually have empathy for them. And so one of the things that we wanted to do to help scale this, because, people say, oh, you can't buy time. Well, you can buy time. You can buy time by reinvesting money to have other people do tasks that you don't want to do, or they can do tasks that frees up your time. So it's an indirect purchase of time allocation. So we're creating leverage with our skills and talents via time. And oftentimes, if you look at it, it's not that much money compared to what you can get out of it. And so in order to create that type of leverage and the volume and to really scale, we wanted to do something different, just like how you have done and how you help a lot of your mentees in your program with getting a book and getting these other programs. So we did a book on Social Security, super exhilarating topic. And then we did another one on long-term care, even more fascinating, to help consumers understand, because most advisors and consumers do not understand long-term care or Social Security. And the book has given us the credibility to be able to speak. I can call a stage and say, I want to go on stage. Why should we call you? I can say, well, I am the author of 2 books. They're bestsellers on Amazon. I've been on Fox, ABC, NBC. I do all these podcast channels and stuff. I couldn't have said that just 2 years ago, but now I can, and it helps get us to a bigger and better place. So the book has been incredibly instrumental. And I always encourage agents and advisors, if you don't have one, make it a goal, because it's not that challenging. It just, you have to prioritize your time. And the lifetime value on that's insane. So.
No, I couldn't agree more. I mean, achieving balance, this one book that we have has done more good for our business, has grown it faster, helped us scale, got us on stages, on podcasts more than anything else.
Yeah.
And you're right. I love helping advisors, financial professionals, entrepreneurs really figure out how to scale their business without losing that balance that you just described.
Right.
So let's talk about this. What do you think are some of your biggest struggles? What do you struggle with the most? Going, I have a good balance. I'm scaling and growing the business. The book is really helpful. But what are maybe some areas where you struggle with not losing that sense of balance?
So the biggest struggle that we have is balancing the fact that we need more people to help us with the paperwork. Because if you're in this industry, if you're doing assets under management, you're doing life insurance, annuities, long-term care, Medicare, it doesn't matter. The biggest drain is the paperwork, right? It takes the time away from everything else. And some people are passionate and good at that. That is 100% not me. So we have people that help with that. But it's a balance. The balance here is like, okay, we could spend X amount of dollars on marketing, generate all this business, which is good. Now we can justify to hire somebody else. But during the slow times, it's like, well, we can't justify that. So the biggest challenge in our balancing is finding, number one, the right people, but number two, to make sure we're budgeting it correctly and we get enough sales coming in to justify the new hire. Now, if you're in a different type of practice where you get residual income, those decisions can be easier. On our side, we don't really have residually based income products that we help people with. So it's more of a transactional type of situation. But that's the biggest challenge we have. Like I would hire 10 more people right now, but then I got to make sure the payroll is going to actually be there for them also, right? And so I was like, how do we get more payroll money? Well, we got to sell more products and help more people. Well, how do we do that without without having enough staff to manage it. So that is the hardest challenge there. And you can see I got kids. I'm playing with this little toy that just came on my desk. So just naturally got in my hands. I was like, oh, wow. But yeah.
It keeps you focused on what's important in life, right?
Yes, exactly.
I love that. So, I mean, yeah, finding the right people. And this is an issue even more important now than ever before with the big rehire and all this business, where a lot of times I'm wondering, is this a real thing or is this a made up thing again? But the more I talk to in this industry, it's actually more difficult to hire right now than literally any other time. And what has been a secret for you to finding the right people, retaining the right people? Let's start there with your strength.
Yeah. So what we've done to get the right people, I've gone the route of putting like LinkedIn ads out and ZipRecruiter type of situations and talking to people. But what I found works the best is if I go to a hotel or I go to a company and there's a really great customer service representative, I'm like, you are awesome. Would you think about changing something? So it sounds weird, but poaching people from other employers, because I want somebody that's already doing well and not necessarily looking, not that there's anything wrong with that, but in our perspective, it's been more beneficial. That way I could go and say, if I have a really good feeling about somebody, I would go to that business 2 or 3 times, different times, just to kind of see like, oh, well, maybe that person would be open-minded, right? Then I just ask, right? If they are, and we can be competitive in pay and better value, then wonderful, come on board, right? But it is really hard to find people. And I think that most agents, they get 2 little birds in their ear. One of them says, hire people and delegate, right? Which is a good thing to do. The other bird says, no, run your practice nice and lean. You don't want the headache of employees, right? You have to find that balance as the individual advisor, but you have to ask yourself, well, how big do you want this to be? Because if you look at anybody with any level of success, they're not doing it solely on their own. They may be the brand, the face, but there's a whole team behind them. And for some people, they don't want to scale. That's totally fine. Other people that want to make a big difference, you're going to have to start rehiring and bringing on people. And initially what they can do, if payroll is an issue, you can offer a bonus structure. I'm going to pay you a percentage of the volume that comes in, assuming that they're licensed.
Oh, these are great ideas and really sound advice when you're talking about really trying to find and retain great employees, especially during this time. I know a lot of advisors, they struggle with exactly what you mentioned. Are they scaling and growing, or are they staying solo? And if so, what do they do? Do they need to hire?
Right.
So this is a really great point. What do you see as the biggest issue for most advisors, financial professionals, insurance agents? What do you think is some of the biggest issues they have with balanced growth?
The biggest issue they have is themselves. And that's my biggest issue is myself, because we become limited in certain beliefs and aspects. If you had 10 financial advisors, 10 insurance agents, what's your biggest business challenge? Almost all of them, because we have an academy that we train agents on, right? Almost all of them will say, we need more leads. We need more people, right? We need better marketing to have people come to here. And it's like, okay, well, how about we train on how to maximize the people that you have already in front of you, right? That's the biggest challenge. Then once they overcome that challenge by getting into different marketing programs that become successful for them, it's not being cheap and hiring people. It's weird. Like this business is like everybody I talk to that has an insurance or financial license, they won't spend $1 on themselves. Like I spend hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in courses and mentorships and programs just to learn. And that's what you have to do. So I think it all comes down to them being open-minded. They have to invest into themselves. They have to create a flow of business, and then they have to hire somebody that's good. And you're not going to get anybody good unless you pay them very, very well. It's less expensive to pay somebody twice the street value than it is to pay somebody the street value and have to hire 4 people and go through that.
That's a nugget right there.
Yeah.
That it's worth talking about a little bit more. This mindset, this has come up a few times today. I've done some other interviews. And mindset is super important, and everybody has different ideas about it. I have a master's degree in psychology. We look at limiting blocks and belief systems through the subconscious. And, just like you, I've had dozens of mentors, hired lots of coaches. I've been through lots of programs. And, eventually you get to the point where you've done a lot of learning and it's time to now give back and share. Mm-hmm. And yet you're still learning, because the more you share is like, whoa, I barely know anything now. I need to learn more. So it's an ongoing learning process. But I agree. Like I'm not the Medicare specialist. I'm a Social Security specialist. I remember being an advisor going, I'm so glad somebody else has figured this out. I have a computation in my comprehensive financial planning software that I can just go bloop, bloop, boom, and done. Right. Hallelujah. But if they ask me questions about it, like, I don't know, let me get the Medicare specialist in here, the long-term care specialist, to help us figure this out. Right. That person has done all the training. Now you're more of a rainmaker, someone who provides a ton more value to the end user or to other advisors. So I love you're talking about this mindset, this learning mindset. What advice would you give to other advisors who want to grow, who want to scale, but they don't want to let go of a sense of balance they have, or they want to improve their balance?
I think the first thing is a self-assessment, right? What's it worth to you? I'll give you a prime example. I'm working with somebody now that is relatively new to the business. They have a full-time job. I said, okay, well, if you want to get into this business, you're going to have to give up something, and that is time. Now you have to find what time slots to give up. And it's like, well, I don't want to give up my evenings because I have dinner with the wife and the kids. Well, not every evening, but maybe every other evening might work, or just a Saturday, right? So what's the value worth to them? If they keep doing what they're doing today, where do they see themselves in 12 months and then 60 months, right? Is it going to be the same? And if so, are they comfortable with that? Or are they willing to go through some short-term pain in order to have the rest of their life? And most people that want to grow, they're willing to give up that short-term, give up a Saturday, give up a couple evenings a week to work hard, to do this practice, and then they can have the rest of their life and then have an opportunity not to take weekends and evenings like I did. Right now, I don't have to, which is great. So I think it comes down to self-assessment. What do you really want? And nobody can tell you that but yourself. But then if they do want that, then they have to seek mentorship, and don't be cheap. You should be spending 10 to 20% of your gross income on self-improvement. That's just my personal opinion, but that's what I believe in. And mentorship programs like through yours, read your book, right? Go to others, join my academy if you want to, go to somebody else's academy. It doesn't matter. The point is, do the self-improvement work. And there's a lot of free stuff if you don't have any money on YouTube, right? That's what they need to be doing. So self-assessment, if they want to do it, then they got to seek mentorship, because the mentorship will give you the knowledge and strength to do it, right? It's like if you sit there and you pray for a brand new Ferrari, God's not going to give you a Ferrari in your garage, right? Well, a better thing would be like, let me pray for inner strength and competence and confidence that I can go out there and do this myself so that I have the opportunity to get the car, right? And so that's exactly what people need to do, is work on themselves.
I love it. Yeah. There's so much truth to that. Yeah. And I remember being a brand new financial advisor, just soaking everything up. Yeah. But there was too much to soak up. I had to start like, okay, what training do I go to now? Which, exactly. I was like, it becomes this, I was so open to so much knowledge that it was overwhelming. And you're exactly right. Like, you have to decide, what do you really want? Because you may not want to be the Medicare specialist. You may not want to be the wealth management specialist. You might want to create fintech, and an app for people to manage, their tasks to be more productive at work. Like that could be your thing. Yeah.
But, like niching down. That's what we're talking about.
Absolutely.
Like, that's why we picked asset-based long-term. We do a lot of stuff, but that's our niche, right? And we've made an industry impact with that because nobody else is doing it. Maybe you're an advisor and you work with union members or federal employees. Pick a niche and buckle down, and then you can develop training courses, platforms, and become the master in that. But you can't be a jack of all trades. Like, we could easily get a securities license and manage money and pick up a lot more revenue, but we don't. We refer to somebody like yourself or one other colleague that knows what they're doing. I don't want to be a specialist, and people respect that.
They do. Tell us about Snarr Academy. How does that help advisors understand how to become better in their industry?
Yeah, great. So what we've noticed before is we got all these partnerships through advisors and other agents that did not do long-term care. Like, well, why isn't anybody like at least talking about it? Like most clients have no idea, or that maybe it was brought up once or twice. And we've always been passionate about it because in addition to my mother's situation, I've also lived through 4 long-term care events with grandparents. I won't go into the details here because we'll be here for a while, but again, I have passion about that. And so I said, well, look, let's just become really good at long-term care. Let's learn everything we can about it. And we continue to learn. Like I just got my CLTC designation. We take courses, we call carriers to learn about their new products, ins and outs of it. So over the years, we've become very proficient in long-term care. We've done a lot of it. We've been able to help lots of people, thousands of people across the country with policies and education and resources, right? And then we said, you know what? A lot of agents would probably love to learn about this, but nobody's telling them. Because as you know, in our business, to get a license, you don't really have to know how anything works, right? And a lot of times the only education they get is from a marketer trying to push a product that maybe pays the highest spread, right? So we wanted to develop a course, an academy, where it's not driven on product per se. It's all about, hey, this is how you have the conversation. And more importantly, this is why you should care, okay? You should care about having that conversation. And if it's not you that wants to write the business because you don't want to deal with medical records and underwriting, that's okay. Find somebody in your network or us that can train you on that. So the value there is that agents, it's an amazing feeling because they're learning a lot. They're able to help a lot of other lives that we're getting indirectly touching on, and they get to generate massive revenue for themselves because the average long-term care payout on the commission side, it could be equal to 5 to 7 life policies or a big 6-figure AUM. And they're getting to be able to help these people out, and it's not even charging those people. So the course itself actually earns advisors a ton of money. And they're doing it all through helping people, which is just an amazing feeling. Like the Zig Ziglar, right? You help more people get to where they want to be, you'll get to be where you want to be. And so that's our way of giving back to the agents. A lot of folks ask us, well, why do you charge for your course? Because you pay to pay attention. If it was free, nobody would listen. And so it's a very nominal, it's like a couple $100, and then you get all this resource. So that's why we do it.
Well, great. You're educating, you're helping others, you're being a source of knowledge and a resource for others if they want to use you. Right? It seems like a win-win-win to me, and for the end client who needs the help, like who doesn't understand it, probably worse than the advisors, right? Who aren't getting trained in this. So it sounds like a great opportunity. So snarracademy.com. That we'll have linked here down below in the podcast. Check that out if you're interested. Connect with Roy. It's so great to have you on the show. Give us your insights. And it's so great to be able to see someone who's using a book, who's using content organically to drive their business and keep their balance. Thank you for being on the show today, Roy, and for your time.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate it.
And if you like this, please like, share, subscribe, send this to someone else who maybe needs to hear about it, needs to know about long-term care and about the Snarr Academy today. And remember, as always, live life on purpose.